Thank you to the Spa Life team for the introduction, and I'm going to jump straight in. We're talking today about future-proofing your spa. And I've been looking at different businesses and how they've coped with this year and what's been happening. So I'm going to bring some case studies in about IHG, Six Senses, a little local cafe, a local yoga studio. I'm currently in Dorchester in the southwest of England, small place. I'm also going to talk about a company that we've been working for the last few years in South America. But as I was looking at this, I was thinking about my grandmother. And my grandmother was born in 1907, and she died in 2018, so was just over 100 years old. And this was a woman who lived through 2 world wars, several pandemics, including the Spanish flu in 1918. She raised 4 children. She had 2 husbands. She was an ambulance driver in Calcutta during the Second World War. And as she got to the end of her life, she was one of these people who had this innate wisdom of understanding that the only thing that is certain in life is change. And as I was kind of contemplating that, I thought, this is actually really important for us to understand, because a lot of the companies that struggled through this year and struggled through everything that was happening this year were companies that found it very difficult to adapt to change. So the very first thing when you're thinking about future-proofing your spa is for you to look at your relationship with change, and if you're able to embrace change. Because change is not about changing your company, it's about being able to adapt to the things that happen around you. Right? So as I move along through this talk, I'm going to talk about several things that help you to understand what it means to embrace change. Right? And as a company, as an industry, it's very important for us to consider this because of some of the things we sell. If you look at the anti-aging movement, for example, we are selling the idea that you can stay young forever, right? We're selling the idea that nothing needs to change in your life if you do certain things, right? And I will talk a little bit later about mental health and how that, for example, impacts mental health. So first thing, as we talk about future-proofing your spa, learn to embrace change. We do this, first of all, first step, there are lots of ways of doing it, but I'm going to look at 3 different points on how to do this. And the first point is, it's about building loyalty. So loyalty amongst your staff and loyalty amongst your guests. Right? And a little story to that, or a little case study, was a cafe that opened here in Dorchester just before December. And the guy who ran the cafe was a real connoisseur about coffee. So he weighed his coffee beans before and after grinding them. He only set the water to a certain temperature and wouldn't compromise on that. So much so that somebody once came into the cafe, a woman came into the cafe, and she wanted her coffee a little bit hotter, and he said no. Dorchester only has 19,000 residents, so anything like that becomes a sensation. It went into the papers. And the amazing thing it did was it really boosted his company and his business, because people realized here's a guy who doesn't compromise on what's important to him. Now, lockdown happened here in March this year, and because he hadn't been open long enough, he didn't get the government support. Right? What happened was that his customers went to him and said, let us start buying vouchers from you. Let us start buying whatever you're willing to sell so that we can help your company to survive. Right? And what happened was that his company survived. He actually had to then build an online presence because he started selling the coffee he was doing. He had a small kind of fashion outlet in the cafe, and that started going online. And so by the end of it, he comes out and the coffee is still there. But what's really amazing is when we now go to the cafe is that everybody kind of knows that they helped this business to survive. Right? And he did that by building loyalty amongst his customers, by building relationship with his customers, by looking after his staff. And that helped him to survive. The same thing happened with a hotel company I'm not allowed to name, I'm afraid, who have been really, really good to their staff. And one of the things they did, because when this all happened and hotels were closing down, they made a commitment during the first lockdown to say, we don't want to fire anybody out of our business. And so what they did is to analyze the different levels of salary that people were on and then ask people to take unpaid leave. And they did this in the spirit of everybody supporting everybody else and keeping their job and keeping the company going. And it was hugely successful because it reduced their payroll enough. Nobody complained about it or thought that they were being kind of ripped off or that they would be better off on furlough or anything like that, because they really felt this is something I can do to support this company. It had also had a huge impact on the way the guests viewed the company. So when they were able to start opening select hotels, depending on what the government was saying, residential guests that they had and were part of their loyalty programs immediately started going there just to support the company and continue to support the staff. So it's really important to be able to manage change and embrace change and adapt to change, is to have the loyalty of your clients and of your guests. A reverse situation to that was a pub here, again, locally, that has a chain. And they fired all their staff as soon as lockdown came along. And the backlash against them and people saying, I'm not going to that pub anymore because the way they treat their people, was amazing to see. Right? So to embrace change, build loyalty. To adapt to change, build loyalty. Loyalty with your guests, loyalty with your staff. The second point is to really know your clients. And that might seem like a bit of common sense, right? But I keep being astonished how many people don't actually know their clients, and especially in our industry, in the wellness industry, especially the spa industry. And it's not only knowing your clients, it's really understanding what the difference is between what your clients want and what your clients need. Right? So, case study for that, we have a little yoga studio here that does obviously yoga meditation classes. They also do counseling, and they do have some massage treatments that kind of link to the yoga and everything else that goes on there. And it's run by this really lovely woman, Sharon, who is middle-aged and not very tech savvy, right? So we come to the lockdown, and she's suddenly confronted with the fact that quite a few of her customers are saying, her clients are saying, are you doing anything online? And she's saying, oh, I actually don't know how to do this, right? But she had the courage to go and learn it. So she goes out and she learns how to set it all up, how to actually set up the classes so that they can be taught properly, how to go online and be actually very comfortable with going online. And she realizes I can now provide for the want of my clients, but then realized that a lot of her clients were like her, middle-aged or over, a little bit afraid of technology. So the need was to learn how to be comfortable with technology. And so she went out and she started teaching people how to be comfortable with technology so that they could then join the classes. Right? And it boomed, because then also her therapists started obviously taking their clients online. The distance healing that could be done, where you're actually seeing the person who's doing the healing, the yoga classes that were done, the meditation classes, to the point where last time I saw her, she said, I don't think I can go back. But I don't think I can go back because a lot of my clients who have difficulties getting to the studio because of mobility issues and things are actually finding it much easier to do this online and still be part of the community. So she really understood the difference between the want and the need. So we find this sometimes in our spas. We know what our customers want. We don't always understand what they need. Right? And so an example of that is that you have 3 customers coming into your spa who all want to relax. One customer needs a deep tissue massage to do that. One customer wants to do a meditation class. One customer wants to do a DIY bathing journey through your wet area, right? They all have the same want. They all have different needs. And any spa that still has 10 pages of a menu with 15 to 20 different descriptions of a massage probably doesn't quite know what their customers really want and what they need. Right? And this is something that we as an industry also need to address and look at. Our company recently went through a training program on human-centered design. And we thought we knew our customers quite well because we were very deeply involved in operations and things. And after doing that class, we realized how much deeper those conversations need to go if we want to move forward as a company and really future-proof our own company, right? To really understand, what do our customers want? And that is not only the end customer of the spa, but also, for example, the architects we work with or the stakeholders we work with, right? And what do they need that they might even not know that they need? So it's really important to think about these kind of things and engage in the relationships and conversations with your clients to understand this. Because the other thing that happens when you do that, it builds loyalty, right? It goes back to the first point. It builds loyalty amongst your customers. It also builds loyalty amongst your staff, because part of knowing what your customers and clients need ultimately reflects also on what your staff need. And that allows you to embrace change when things happen. The third point, a little bit delicate, is how important it is to educate yourself. So we started a couple of years ago working for a company in South America. And this was a hotel company. They also owned boats and things like that. And they realized that they needed to get into the spa industry, and they wanted to build some small spas. They didn't quite know if their clients would accept the change to spa or not, or would be interested in the spas or not. So they decided to start with very small spas and just see what would happen. So they asked us to come in and design the spas for them. But forward thinking, they also said, we would like you to analyze all of our operations against wellness. So they ended up with a spa document about that thick and a wellness document about that big. Then the lockdown happened. And of course, the first thing they did is they called us and said, can we actually open our spas? And we said, well, depends on what your government says. Right? Then they were allowed to open their hotels. And they said, well, what do we do with our spas? Should we close down our spas? And so we reminded them that it's not this document that's important right now, it's this document. Right? It's the wellness document and looking at what you can do in wellness. And that means stepping back and looking at the topics that are hot at the moment in the wellness industry. So topics like immune resilience, mental health, right? Natural supplements that are coming up with the CBD and the mushrooms and the incredible research that's being done into algae and all that. Right? And this is something I find is sometimes lacking, right? It's sometimes in our industry, we don't really take this incredible information that we're getting about ourselves and the world around us and what wellness is and what well-being is, and then make it relevant down into the single spas, right? So you've got the Global Wellness Institute that's doing this incredible research, but not a lot of it actually filters down to the day-to-day operations of a spa. Because it's up to us, right? It's up to us to take and think about, what am I committed to? What do I really, really believe in? And what is the research around that? And how can I make that relevant to my client? And that can be things like, when we look at immune resilience, for example, we know that stress impacts our immune system. We know that 70% of our immune cells are in our gut. So what we eat and what we take in has a big impact on our immunity, right? So if you're focusing on what massage can I do, yeah, you're not going to get anywhere with that. But if you step back and say, okay, what can I offer that is going to reduce stress, that is going to impact gut health, that is going to support mental health, right? That might not at this moment be a business builder. It's not a massage, right? It's not where my main business is. But what it is going to do is going to show that you know what your clients want and need. It's going to build the loyalty of your guests because they feel that you're taking care of them, and it's going to allow you to weather change when anything like this happens again. Right? One of the other things about education, and this is a little bit of a pet topic for me, because I started in the industry in 1997 as a masseur, and then I went out to the Maldives as a manager and just started growing in the industry that way. And when I was in South America, I was given a group of people to train in massage. They wanted to up the game on the massage. And in the group were 3 people who came in, and they were physiotherapists. So I thought, oh my God, I don't actually know how much I can really teach you. And so I said, give a massage. I want to see you giving a massage. And I'm watching them doing the massage, and they're doing this massage, and everything they knew about anatomy physiology had gone out the window. Right? So I stopped one of the guys and I said, okay, do a physiotherapy massage. So he starts doing the physiotherapy treatment, and everything he knew about keeping a customer comfortable on the table, draping, towel work, bolster work went out the window. Right? So the first thing, he was so focused on doing the sequence that he learned that he forgot everything else. The second thing, he was so focused on the client that he forgot everything about the client comfort. And as I then started going around and asking people about anatomy and physiology, hardly anybody knew anything about how anatomy physiology applies to a massage. Right? They had just learned the sequence and the steps of the treatment without really thinking about the benefit that each of these brings. And I see this more and more because we focus so much on being different, following the next fad, right? That we forget that things like massage, things like the treatments, there's nothing in a treatment that doesn't have a benefit. We forget those kind of things, right? In trying to cope within this industry. It's incredible that we're an industry, a $1 trillion industry, that doesn't have regulations around what massage is, or we don't have international training programs for spa managers or anything like that, right? We're just kind of muddling our way through all of this. And that's why it's important that we individually go out and really educate ourselves, that we really know what it's about, so that we can come back and make it relevant and really show that we know our clients and build the loyalty and embrace change when it happens. Okay. So, little summary at the end of this. Embrace change. Look at your relationship with change. Look at what it means for you to build loyalty in your staff and in your guests, and what you can do to do that. Really get to know your clients. Start those conversations to understand what their wants are and what their needs are. And be curious about the world and the things that are important to you, so that you can educate yourself and make it relevant to your business. Thank you very much. And I'm going to join the Spa Life team back on stage right now. See you in a minute.